between those two, but the air is thick. It's romantic.
But what would Tim be?
Tim would be the tool man, because it also sounds like something that you'd call Jason Statham.
Okay. And Medic's the creation sensation, of course. There's nothing else we can give him.
No. Easy, who is observing this game,
said he would be the Dutch disappointment.
He would be the Dutch disappointment. Now, he said that.
He said it, not us.
We didn't say that.
Who would be the driver, the getaway driver?
I think it would be me. I can't drive. So it wouldn't be a very good game. Okay, no, maybe I wouldn't be that. If we're putting it together, I don't know. Maybe
don't be worried. We're not actually doing it.
We're not actually doing it. But you know,
just
like
thinking about it.
You know, like those sort of like Ocean's.
Maybe we want to make a movie,
cool heists,
or a content piece around
a content piece where we have like an. The entire thing I'm picturing, and we'll talk about these bands in a second. But this is just consulate bands.
It is.
But the main thing I'm thinking of is like, you know, there's like, we're gonna get, you know, have we got a team? Let's get the team together. It's like, I'm in. You know, we
visit everybody's hotel room. We knock on the door and it's like, here's an envelope.
It wouldn't have to be the hotel room, because then if it's the hotel, it means that we're already in. We've gone really deep on this. We'll go back to this later. I'll circle around later. But now all the bands are there. Let's talk about it. Consulate, we have seen it a lot. And this is familiar territory. Valk, she's always gone. She's too powerful. 4 flat walls. It's a rectangular danger. That's Consulate, baby. Stay away from this place. Nomad to control at least some of the entire lockdown on the outside of the map. NaVi is a team that does like to get quite explorative. Empire as well. They can be when they build up on their defenses. They love to stretch the map, and they generally prefer, for most of it, staying inside the building, but they aren't scared of exploring outside. And that's the sort of reason that the removal of the Nomad is there, because that's a bit of knowledge that both teams work with. And the knowledge that a team can go outside is, you know, it's like when you go up to a mirror window, it's not just that there's the threat of somebody behind it, but it's also the consideration that there might be someone about to do something from behind it, so you got to be cautious.
Yeah. All right, so since we were called the analyst desk, what about I paint the picture of the stakes that are up here?
Paint the scene.
There's multiple ways we could go at it. If you want to speak statistically cleared to go to the 6th major Mexico, Natus Vincere needs to get a total of 3 points. That is the all-out win within the 12 rounds, that is. Empire only needs an overtime win to secure themselves statistically. Now, realistically, 17 points is most likely going to be that border of qualifying. It's just that Team Vitality is hot on their heels and is within 6-point reach, and then you have that, you know, the mini leagues and everything coming in. So if we are going for 17 points, then an overtime loss for Empire would be good, and an overtime win for NaVi would secure that as well. That would put them both on 17. Would mean both are realistically secured, but, you know, the world's just not that simple. So let's just keep it at 3 points NaVi, 2 points Empire, and then they are 100% secured.
Steady approach here. Doki is in a situation where he doesn't massively want to sort of get caught out here on the top rungs of Consulate. It's a lot of buying time, and it's a lot of wasting it as well. That's the power of the Mozzie. It's a very raindrop map, and the way I describe that is the hatches have fantastic synergy on a top-to-bottom basis. There's the possibility of rotation with a fair bit of cover, unless it's controlled by, obviously, the aggressors, the attackers. They have to sort of set themselves up. You'll often see before a clear comes around on the top, they'll have a body set up on the big double door on lobby to make sure that if someone does hit those hatches or hits spiral stairs, they can't do it so cleanly. Scyther is the slow creep here, and Blair is going to start that raindrop down with a bit of support here from Secretly. Knows that they don't have to waste their life because they've already taken all the time. And hey, look at that. There's the response. The stairs that lead Doki and allow him to go back up. The Gemini is hunting, but cannot quite find him.
Not yet. And of course, the Buck was just playing above, opening up some of these angles. Then now heading out towards the actual balcony, hoping to potentially put up some pressure onto the player, onto players that could be inside of course, meeting and projector, but also maybe creating a long vertical as Doki spots out a player there. That is then actually went all the way down. He's going to be trying to contest straight through the actual lobby.
There's Doki. I think he suffered heading down onto the basement. This is now Secretly's pulled out of there as well. They've wasted 2 minutes of time. They've realized that a lot of heat is starting to come towards their backside, and they're going to make sure that all of it is covered. But always is the first to find the opening. Body saves is gone, removed. That's the C4 off the board too, which in this sort of plant and pressure that they want to apply, forcing Blur out as well, puts them in an uncomfortable situation. Nath on the Echo drones. Could be a problem that ends up haunting them a little bit later on in the wire, but there is also a Thatcher on the board, and now Blur is not on the board, so that's another body gone. 30 seconds. Empire have done a fantastic job at shepherding the NaVi bodies back into the kitchen. Shepard's going to try and stick this. There is those Thatchers I talked about to stop those plants. There's the spray round. There's one more for the trouble. A post plant and a fantastic grasp of control here from Empire.
Definitely so, and now they just have a mirror window to play with and nothing left to play with. It's a flawless round to start it off here for Empire against NaVi. And that is definitely going to be a good start for them heading into this oh-so-important matchup. Or 6 rounds, not even actually. They need 7 or 8, depending if we go to OT. But of course, they do need to get to 2 points. And this first round will be very helpful, especially the way that they got it. They just completely outgunned the members of NaVi. They didn't stand a chance, really. As they tried to contest, but got shut down before they even managed to land any of their shots. Now they're going to console meeting. We're heading to that top floor. They realized, okay, let's not do the garage straight away. Let's keep it fresh. Let's start rotating and make sure that, you know, there is that opportunity that we do actually surprise them. And as they go to that top floor now, there is going to be the clash that gets brought from NaVi. Of course, we do see the rest of the operators, which are a bit more usual as well.
Yeah, I think the clash is a sort of... It gives you a little bit of solidity against the windows. It allows them to play a bit more responsive as well. It was one of the things that I sort of highlighted there is the way that you have this approach. It's the shepherding of bodies back down and the make sure that you have a couple of bodies like where Dan was positioned on the double door, like where obviously Joystick was as well, just outside garage. You do the prep to allow you to catch them. It's you force them into the net and it's then you spring the trap. The clash allows you to actually push back against that because obviously at this point as well, if you're thinking about it, Dan is very isolated. If Dan had been dropped there by the Doki on the Mozzie, it might have been a different threat because at that point then Empire is the team that's on the back foot. They have to do quite a big reshuffle to try and get the control there and they have to bring their bodies round. And it's those little moments that allow the clash to sort of be that repellent of the progression. Saves under a bit of danger here, quick and close, but is able to pull back, pepper some bullets away as the drones start their way through.
Just quickly trying to get some information out. Saves. Around the corner will be spotted out now. We'll take care of that drone, but it's not going to get punished too much for it. It actually makes his way into the lobby. Look to potentially harass and attack the door if anybody would be deciding to go and try and contest it. Now, of course, not the case. Dan just holding a long angle in the actual connector. Spots out a player, but was just a little bit too high to open up the fire. And trying to put some shots in, but not hitting anybody quite yet. And in the meantime, admin controls are ready for Empire. They're starting to open up just these long lines of sight, which they can use to, well, protect, of course, the Visa stairs, but as well potentially cut down any jump outs on that window, which could be so useful as soon as that plan does go down, because at that moment in time, they do have to go for jump outs. They do need to clear out the player. That would be, well, of course, a balcony to go for a post plan.
Well, always is looking to try and drop anything on the connector, buy themselves a little bit of time, and it's actually Blur that's the one that's just holding the angle, trying to see if they can get a catch here on Dan, who's, again, trying to hold angle. It's consulate. It's a game of bringing out the protractor, lining things up, and seeing just how you can draw these lines and these separations across the map itself. Blur is flirting with danger here. They're going a little bit wider and hoping that Dan's a little bit unaware. The spray comes through. They're just able to dabble and dance, but it allows the pressure on the door to actually start to slip through a little as they're just trying to restructure for this final minute.
A lot of fire being tossed towards Blur's way, and Dan really wants to make sure that they have the opportunity to enter. There's still going to be that clash, which will be disabled with the EMP, and that means that there's no CC coming in for now. Also, the stuns are coming out. Not the kill, however. NaVi will be allowed to live. That means that the shield will still be active, and they are going to be having a very hard time trying to get this plant in, but always he opens up the score.
And that's over the shoulder of the Clash as well, who's refound the mantle inside the site itself. Doki's able to get one back again using that Clash, but look at that drive up long desk all the way to the top of Spiral. It's so isolating. That fight all the way across the top. There's barely any cover and loads of audio, and Nath is capitalizing on it. Gets one, gets dropped. The Clash is gone out of the room and out of the board, but with the hold there from Saves, drops the double. Only a handful of seconds left, but secretly make sure they don't get all the way. NaVi, they're able to, with a little bit of restructuring there inside the Clash, as I said, sort of meet the foes face on and say, not today.
Lack of potential to get rid of that Clash in that play. Nice shots so quickly being tossed out as well, because there were some nice shots that we saw. Well, we didn't really see that one that we were talking about, but in general, very tight angles are being watched. Some good holds are being put up here. And right now, NaVi up against Empire. It's 1-1. We keep on trading. There's no Clash around this time, but it's definitely going to be in the back of Empire's mind that it might be a possibility, something they will have to deal with, and that might make them a little bit more careful with their utility in the original start of the round until they figure out that there indeed will be no Clash. We are heading towards the middle floor, though. It's going to be lobby press, and NaVi continue their rotation. They're not even going to be deciding to go instantly to that bottom floor again, probably due to how Empire managed to quickly dismantle them. Might need a bit of extra time to, well, maybe find an adaptation, or just, of course, want to stay in their own flow. There's multiple reasons of why not to go back straight away. And now NaVi are setting up for that top floor roam. You see a couple of players upstairs. It's Saves, I believe it's Doki as well. That is, of course, playing on that Mozzie. Probably putting up some pests on the admin windows, which make it harder to get any drones through. And there's also going to be a Frostmat that is going to be hoping to pick up one of these players that quickly enter. Of course, should be droned out, but doesn't always get droned out, and that's the issue.
I think here as well, you can see they've gone for a bit of extension on the top. There's also always going to be that play underneath. Nath with the Pulse is an exceptionally powerful operator in general for a map like Consulate. It gives you a lot more space, a lot more of being able to get the read on just where the push is coming from, which is something that can play into the guns of NaVi, who are seemingly wanting to be a little bit more responsive. They know how well Empire can set themselves up in terms of holds, but also they are more than aware of the skill that Empire can bring in terms of gunfights. It is a team that has been very sharp as this split has sort of driven itself on, and a team that just as close as they are to the end of this and just as close as being able to get themselves in the major, it's something where they cannot really take anything for granted. Every firefight is tough in this 5 versus 5.
It definitely is, and with 2 minutes left, NaVi still have a good hold. Not much has been taken care of by Empire yet, and that does mean that the pressure soon will start to arise. You can also see it already. All the red outlines, they're in and around and admin, and will try to take the top floor control, whatever it takes, because it's going to be necessary. There's no way you're going to get that plant in if you do not clear out the players that are inside of the projector room. The big worry, however, is Nath, playing from below, has the opportunity to give away so much information whilst using the cardiac sensor. Of course, might not be able to quite hit it yet with these with the nitro he carries, but the information is already super valuable for a team like NaVi to act upon, because the rest will be in positions as Blur gets taken out first.
And that's a bit of a lost Blur as well, not just in the fact that it's a sort of player who has been a big focus and a big clutch drive on this team before. Doki caught off to Dan. Wow, he's sort of waiting for a bit of a push back there and hoping to catch it. Doki might be able to escape here and get picked up. There's nobody to get the instant lock off, but still, your two big gunners that are often the driving force of NaVi, especially against aggressive teams, so far haven't really been able to dig their teeth into this game. They've been able to pull themselves back in with some good sort of solid 5 holding here, but otherwise this consistent pressure, this aggression that's coming from Empire, well, it's everywhere. There's nowhere to really escape from their reach and their grasp right now, and NaVi are struggling to sort of find which firefight do we take first, because none of them are going their way.
None of them are for now, indeed, and the plant's coming down in the meantime, so that means the nitro needs to come out, but there comes the cover from below. Joystick picks him up, and that means 45 seconds now on that clock. Doki gets taken out, and yet another flawless round for Empire here. In round number 1 and round number 3, they managed to pick them up, and now NaVi, well, they have 2 sites where they just got flawless on, and one that they won. However, the one that they did manage to win is currently still locked, and they will be forced to go to a new site. Archive Stellars comes out of the box, and that means we're going to go and see all 4 sites from NaVi. Let's see if this one will be a little bit more successful.
This is a very scary Empire. This is an Empire that's sort of everywhere they need to be. They're able to get themselves locked into these positions. They're sort of getting all these angles, these solid lines, these holds. They know where the danger's coming from. And it's that worrying kind of combination. It's that pressure of, you know, they're a great consular team. We wanted something sort of secret, sort of spicy here from NaVi, because it's something that they've sort of kept hidden for a long time, as it was pointed out on the desk. But here so far, whether they've got it or not, it seems a bit tough to try and pull the pieces together, because Empire, they're playing their pace anyway. They're taking the property, they're taking the real estate that they want and saying, well, we have this angle, we have this pocket, we have the room for the diffuser. They don't massively seem stressed outside of that middle round when things are going their way, and it's down to, unfortunately, NaVi to try and work out, well, how do we make things not go their way?
The one thing that comes to mind, though, if I think NaVi and Consulate, are comebacks. Of course, Blur versus Virtus Pro, last stage, able to put up an amazing comeback and really started to let NaVi rise into no longer the Doki show, because it, until then, was kind of Doki just performing massively every single game, and then Blur showed up huge. But of course, like if you go even further back, G2 was it a 5-1 that turned it around and became a NaVi game?
I believe
that is like way back.
The classic.
The classic. Definitely. But yeah, so, you know, it's never over until it's over. It's, I think that is, I think everybody can agree with me on that.
Oh, yeah.
Please don't throw out that Nitro. Okay, I was going to say, that could end badly as Shepard takes the first kill yet again, but this time it's Doki to drop.
Yeah, again, those sort of big guns haven't quite been able to find their way in, because Empire is so solid. Their hold and their approach, what they want to take control of, they're making sure that they do. And it becomes that tricky question for NaVi is, okay, how do we start to bite back against this? Scyther is just swinging wide, opening up the holes all the way down to the bottom to see if he can, I guess, put any pressure down on anyone. He's got a bit of time, got a bit of room, and drawing a little bit of attention here, as you can see just inside Tellers. There's a bit of a tuck-in, but the grenade pushes Blur into a slightly different situation. Saves has doubled up with Nath on the side as well. They're expecting the pressure to come through from this side itself, and wow, oh, they still have time. Ooh. Blur able to get himself off of the board there.
Able to get Scyther. Thought he would be able to see him, but that could be an empathy thing, of course. And now they are aware of a player that is inside the tunnels. Joystick pops a couple of shots, but is not quite able to hit any. They're just going to dig in deep, and the rest of NaVi, they know that time is on their side. There's only 65 seconds left, and Empire will need to peak and will need to start pushing in at some point. And as long, of course, as you have that pulse available below that has another Nitro to potentially guide in the form of Secretly, you should be able to stop any plan to come down from that A bomb site, from the Archives bomb, Teller's bomb site. As they're slowly starting to set up, it's Blur that is still above and is going to be, well, taking down yet another one.
Yeah, Blur playing in a very dangerous area right now, but he's able to bring some of this force back in to NaVi. Take out 2 big bodies for Empire, take out a fair bit of utility, and kind of keep posing that question of danger. Dan takes a fight up top, saves. Couldn't quite angle it and expect it. You assume, based on the positioning, that there was a call on a pre-placed drone there, just to sort of give the read and the idea of where that pressure, that swing was coming from, and shut it out before it became a problem. But look at the time. 15 seconds. They got to try and stick that diffuser in, the drop on the body, and there's still one inside. The repositioning there puts them in a tricky situation, but with only 10 seconds, they've got to try and hop through this very dangerous window right now. They're going for it. There's the diffuser cold. There's one for Secretly and Nath. 2 NaVi with a response built around the ballistic skill of Blur. They bring themselves back to a 2-2.
And with that, they do stay equalized for now, and they get the opportunity to go back towards that top floor as well. It has unlocked, and they'll use that opportunity to instantly go back there. Not continuing a rotation. Going back to where you found success before. As they for now can still. Console meeting. An Empire, well, they have fought a clash. They saw previously. It's no longer in there. Got 6-picked out to an Echo, and we do see, I believe that was a Hibana being 6-picked in. Yes, indeed. might help a little bit with opening up the quad wall on the northern side of the projector room.
I was going to say
bathroom.
I think it's the mix of sort of that. I think it also, I didn't 100% get the read on where Empire put the pressure, but it gives them more options to do uncomfortable angles as well. So if you're looking towards the bathroom, maybe the pressure could come from there as well, back right behind where they expected the Clash to potentially be playing. Obviously, she's gone now, so they sort of prep themselves for a hold that might otherwise not happen. And it's still, I think that was a bit of a response there, because it gives you more option, but less clean entrances. However, the entrance that Empire drove themselves with anyway was from the suicide back, was from that sort of hot jump in, hope for the cover.
So they did need to use one of the Selmas to open up Visa, but of course 4 X-Carls will do the same trick. You just need a line of sight to hold it off. You do not need to jump through. There's absolutely no need for it. Of course, it makes you a little bit quicker in case you do need to rotate at the very final moment, but to use 130 utility on that is always going to be a bit tough. So now Empire setting themselves up again. A lot of the window games are being played currently. A lot of repels as we speak, and there's not that many people on site. I believe that the majority is actually playing down below. There goes Doki for a run out. It's going to be able to get picked up, not even dealing enough damage to take out the kill onto Scyther.
Yeah, the cover was there from Dan very quickly. Scyther reacted too. They tried to hope to get the pick up there with the smoke canister. It's a bit of a gamble and a gambit, but to be fair, when you're sort of in a situation where they've had quite clean approaches, pulling something out of that, making them feel a bit uncomfortable, it's that sort of risk and reward.
Yeah, so secretly shield that he has set up there, that often gets taken care of by a heart breach. So normally the heart breach is placed on that wall, as Blur now takes a lot of damage as well. So you can soon expect the Hibana to be in a position to move secretly away from Projector, because then suddenly it's becoming very unplayable. And as he's moving in towards the side of admin, surely that is the next step to the attack. Going into copy, I believe, or at least I would assume so, after, of course, opening up the angle on the Visa stairs. It's going to be making the life of Secretly a little bit more difficult, forcing him to play in front of the shield rather than behind it.
Well, there's the pings, there's the steady approach, and as you said, towards that shield, that dug-in corner where secretly is a big problem. 2 canisters left, but a minute as well. And reopening the arena gates as Empire restructure themselves. They've got a body, and they've almost got Blur too to double it down in a similar approach to the rounds that have otherwise been so monumentally successful always. With the pop of the grenade, gets that shield, gets the draw, and the flashes made sure that if there was anything in there, it's burnt, but there wasn't. No ADS is nothing to try and stem that flow. Blur has a very big punch hole angle there, sprayed towards the Gemini, but
that's the difficulty when you're playing a Rooney. You're not really going to be able to make a small punch hole. It's going to be a pretty big one, and that means it's going to be easier to be spotted. But he stays on the side, might be able to get away with it, might be able to pick up a kill as a result. There's no more flashbangs in the pocket of Dan, and that means that it's going to be a little bit more difficult to get rid of those laser gates. Of course, Shepard's still near, has some of the X-Carals left to also make use of it, so there's plenty of utility. Now really going in for the plant in the meantime, as Scyther picks up a kill for the cover, and always as well.
There it is, well-formulated cover. An Echo drone dropped from underneath is the one that might be able to get it. There's a Nitro in the hand. There's a fight that's happening. The C4 just
too late.
popped a second too late. Saves. Almost pulled off a clutch of a season, but unfortunately now has to pull off a clutch of the season to be able to pull this one back. 30 seconds in a slow approach back up the yellow stairs to see if there's anybody that they can meet. There's been scraps and scrapes across the board, but look at the hold here. They're still droning. They're well aware of where he is. They have one on the end of long desk no longer. They have one in admin with the long angle. They have one under suicide ready to pop up, and then one just round the corner at the top of Visa stairs. Reassembled the Aruni gate there, but we're out of time for them to pull off the plant. In the meantime, they're still going to try and take an exit here. Unfortunately, it's not a happy one. Empire find their third.
It was an exit. No, not a happy one, as you said, indeed. It was picked up instead by the Empire players, and they find a third round. Now NaVi, well, they're going to have to decide. There's 3 sites available to them on either floor, which is the one that we'll go with. For now, it seems like Cafeteria Garage will be the play. Of course, we saw Mirror coming in, but not really being that useful, as Empire was just pre-firing the Mirror and was able to pick up the kills before they even got a shot off at them. And indeed, it has been locked in now. So This could be either 4-2 for Empire or 3-3 for NaVi, who desperately need to get 3 points. That will secure them in their race to the major. This Vitality will be put without an opportunity to try and fight themselves in at their cost. That is, of course, there's still G2, and there would still be Empire that are vulnerable. However, NaVi currently is in a position where they are the most risky one of the top 4. They have 1 point less compared to everybody else, and I believe they've lost to Vitality as well. Yes, they have. That was a 1-7. It was a blowout. That was the first game Vitality played in Stade de France. So they really do not want to equalize the score with Vitality, because that does mean they are not going to Mexico if they do.
That's it. It's a fight all the way to the final play days. But they've still got a bit of fight left in them as they looking to try and get themselves at least an even half. It has been a very good attack so far from Empire. The coordination has been very well locked together. They're kind of well prepped, seemingly on NaVi's tricks, and they haven't really been able to go too deep in the pockets, in the sort of bags of those as of yet. They're still trying to drive themselves around with a little bit more on their defenses. I like how sort of Dan's bringing the buck in this role. They haven't really massively sort of played towards, obviously, the sledge or that sort of hard use of frag grenades, because obviously it was once upon a time where, the buck drop off when he lost his frags. But here they've got Iana sort of bringing that role, and they've got just Dan as this sort of quick transition. And it's one of the things when we asked Gorgona about it, who was the sort of one of the only buck players back when, and he said the pace that you can go from the skeleton key to a gun takes so many people by surprise, and it's something that you just can't do with sledge. That little bit of range, that little bit of space, look at how quickly he goes between open, okay, ready to kill anybody that might respond to that. On a map like Consular, it's working really, really well for
Yes, and it's also an underbarrel attachment, which is really good at clearing out these close corners. You just pop up to the skeleton key if you do not know exactly if he's prone or crouch. Pop in a couple of shots. It's very likely you pick up the kill, and it's more often nowadays that we do actually see these kills coming in. Oh, is NaVi going to try and angle one through? He could, yeah, there he goes. He's trying to open it up for sure. Or has he pre-placed it? He might have pre-placed it. Blows it up. No effect, though. So he was going to try and throw it through, make it a little bit of a vertical, but not the case. That means 1 nitro has been used. 1 nitro has been wasted. There's 1 to 2 left, but of course no one really near to make sure that they are going into, for example, Visa, where these players are around.
So they're clearing the space around the back of the bathroom there. They're going to try and force that body out, and they do it around the same sort of pace that they're able to pull this off before. Still with 2 C4s in pocket, though. Now we have the option and ability to try and make use of them. They don't have the smoke canisters. They're not going for that sort of long arm denial on the plant here instead, but you assume, obviously, that that pulse might be causing nightmares from the sort of lead in the situations. And you've got the Maestro as well, with those Evil Eyes being popped there and pinged there, trying to get the read on those, the removal of those as they steady away above.
So they know that there's a player around there, and they're first putting up the verticality to try and take out Blur. It's going to be coming up. There's no way Blur is going to be able to jump up because there's angles being watched on that side, so he's literally stuck prone next to the bomb chassis here, but it might allow him to actually pick up a kill. Gets spotted out, though. Saito picks up the kill. The mirror window, however, is still a risk. Trying to go for the pre-fire. EMPs are being tossed out. They need to go for a plant now, and they are going to be able to get away with it, it looks like, because Shepard is in.
Yeah, Dan being able to get a big pick from above, but Nath finds Joystick, and there's Scyther with the flank watch. A big rotation round on the side of Yellow Stairs here. Secretly wanted to try and get in a position where he could strike across the flat face here of the plant spot itself. It's being watched on a run out very well by Always. Nath is above in a 1 versus 4 situation, but all of the Empire bodies have otherwise pulled themselves away. Can't get a free gift, unfortunately, from the holes opened up away from him, so gonna pull out the device to find hearts, and unfortunately no one is beating. They are stone cold and well aware of where you are now as well. Trying to bait the swing potential there with the knife round, and well, they don't need it. Always has been on lock.
Look at this shot as well, just moving in. Oh, such a quick response coming through from them, and such a good clear from Empire as well, you have to say. They quickly took care of all the utility walls. The buck, of course, above was creating these angles where it would be difficult for Blur to rotate out. They get a drone in, they know exactly where he is, they take him out as a result, and then they're like, well, there's a mirror window. That's a risk. How do we deal with that? Do we you know, smoke it? Do we wait here for another 30 seconds to see if we can maybe take... What about we just run through onto the back of White Van? Because we took care of all the utility. There's no smoke canisters to be tossed at us. And the result and the decision that they made on the side of NaVi was to send the Maestro around. Send him through that top floor into yellow. And that is the right decision that they made. They needed to do something. They were never going to be winning that as soon as the diffuser went down with just horizontal battles. They needed to make sure that they were in time to stop the plant from happening with the amount of time that was left. However, not always, the Maestro a little bit too late there, resulting in Empire getting the round, and with that, winning the half, because it's 2-4, and we have just swapped. It's now Empire that will be on their defense after what you can almost say some, well, phenomenal attacks. Very quick, even though it does come down into the last final seconds, it doesn't really feel like that.
I think that's it as well, is sometimes when a game has a really late plant statistic, sometimes when a game has plants that are consistently in that final 10 seconds, it can feel very dangerous. It can feel very dramatic. It can feel out of rhythm. And this hasn't been from Empire. Their sort of plays there, everything seemed to be under their mantle of pace. Sure, it's a risk when you do those late executes where if one thing goes wrong, well, then suddenly you're in a very tricky position. Yeah. But otherwise, everything that Empire have been putting together on their attacks have been very good. Now it's time for NaVi to sort of prove those lessons as well. 4-2 is a split that can be worked with. They're a team that has been good on their attacks, especially when driven behind the guns of Doki and Blur. The concern right now is that Doki hasn't quite been able to have a game of the magnitude that he's been able to have earlier on in the season, earlier on in the split, and it was one of the forces that drove NaVi towards the top of the board last time.
Definitely so, and one thing to keep in mind as well, Thatcher is open. It hasn't been used by NaVi this round at least, and that is going to be making their task to open up the garage a little bit tougher, you would say. Of course, there's the opportunity to go for the verticality. You can use that skeleton key to start opening up. You can, well, maybe get in a grenade from below to also do the exact same thing. It's just you have the opportunity available to you. His joystick spots out a player, just not able to quite find the head. However, he's going to be rotating himself into yellow to go for a little bit of a different angle, and Doki seems to be aware of it. He's also very well aware of the fact that someone might be below.
Yeah, he's sort of preparing himself here. Drops the default cam. They have an idea of the swing round, and Empire, well, they lent into it there. Nath almost get caught out, but it's actually Blur that's the first off the board, way underneath. Cypher's able to get the opener. Joystick doesn't want to give up the territory that he's got. He takes the firefight against Doki, gets the drop there. They just expected him to pull back, tried to get the pre-fire fight against Nath, but he's able to at least secure the first body, but it's at the cost of, yet again, the two big bodies, the two big guns that unfortunately, again, haven't been able to sort of dig their teeth into on their opening attack. Now, Saves is trying to restructure himself on the downstairs portion of the Visa admin. He's angling towards the kitchen to see if he can cook up a bit of a storm here, but with all the solidity of that wall still in place, with Secretly still working out just how they can get the approach here, and a sort of hot prep going to have to come round. It's otherwise waiting and unfortunately trying to bait out the two C4s that are still in pocket.
Definitely so. NaVi also wasted 2 minutes on trying to clear that top floor until they finally managed to get the man, and now shots are being returned as the breaching charges are being put up. Nave needs to take care of that utility quickly. Will do so with this angle. Actually failed to get the Banshee. Will, however, get the electric lawn. That means a breach will be coming on. At least they're going to be trying to enter the sites, but there's just so little control that it's going to be very difficult for them to actually get that plan down. The cover needs to be absolutely on point. There's so many punctures that they need to be aware of as he runs out of ammo. Needs to run in. Almost hits the actual Rooney laser gate, and he gets down at the very final second. I'm not quite sure what it was. Is it a smoke canister? Maybe. What popped up? Oh, the Maestro Evil Eye.
Ah, yeah.
Zapped him out.
Out the zaps. It's tricky. It's this sort of tricky situation that they find themselves in now, where the bit that has driven this NaVi team, that aggression, can't quite connect. It was a late push, sure, and I think the comparison there, if we're going to talk about how Empire's pushes were very late, this felt last dash. This felt we've got to sort of get this together. They haven't quite been able to find their pace yet on Consulate. They've obviously still have the chance to have a bit of a team talk, and they're not going to opt to take it just yet. They want to try and get into a bit of the meat of their aggression so far, but
I don't know if it's the right choice to not go for a talk now. Given the fact they need 3 points to be 100% secure, you might want to do everything you have available to you to make sure you have those 3 points. Of course, 2 could, realistically speaking, be enough. 1 could, realistically speaking, be enough for Empire. But both want to make sure that they're 100% locked in after tonight, after preferably their own matchup as well, not having to wait to see whether or not Vitality is going to be able to take the 3 points home today. And Empire, well, they're doing absolutely everything they have available to them, as they're currently up to 5. Willing to or wanting to look towards an actual regulation win. That might actually put them at the top of the table until the rest of the night, because, well, G2 still has to play. That is the only team that would be able to, well, equalize them on points at the end of the day, if they do manage to go for a full win here.
It's this sort of strange situation here with Navi. Obviously, they've got Empire as this game, and then BDS is their game.
Yeah, it's a very difficult game.
It's the follow-up, and BDS are already sort of confirmed as a...
Yeah, that's the lucky part they have about it.
Yeah.
But Vitality is chasing them, and Vitality, ooh, that's a good kill from Nave. That is a good start. It's Dan gone. It's definitely going to be welcome. But as we continue talking about that, it's Vitality chasing them, and I believe Vitality have Rogue and Knights, or Knights and Secret actually.
Yes, VP and Unknights is their game. So
yeah, so it is going to be. It's going to be definitely interesting to see whether or not VP is going to be able to close the gap towards Navi at the end of the day. It's not that late, however, or a time for that, however, because Navi still has the opportunity to get a full 3 points here. It is going to be difficult. They cannot lose a single round in the next 5 that are going on. But there's always an opportunity. And as I said, it's never over until it's over.
Well, being able to get the first was a bit of a good start here. Always is trying to meet the mantle of fire that might come over Suicide, but is otherwise being left a little bit wanting. Doki has been able to creep his way all the way close to the door. Secretly has the diffuser. He's a little bit further away. He wants the rest of the bodywork of Navi to be able to try and pull a little bit more out of the defenses here. The quick pop comes around, but it's actually Shepard that pops off Doki. That was from the connector, I believe. Always has been able to survive half health, but still holds on. And as the utility is still popping off there, that one doesn't quite get close enough. Gonna have to take the firefight, and Nath does. Drives it home, puts some bullets towards the split side as the pings come through, though the rest of Navi, as you can see secretly, is trying to emerge with the diffuser.
Seems like it's going to be a very heavy take coming towards that side. But look at that. 2C4 still available. Joystick and Scyther. There's a minute left on the clock, and they have the opportunity to rotate down. A shield will be providing them a little bit of cover from the actual Visa stairs, but they do need to make sure that they have the opportunity to pressure the bar, and that means that a very different kind of player needs to be taken care of. That is, I believe, Blur, that is playing around the corner. Soon that jump in will come. They do need to get that kill. They do need to have that long desk control. If they do not, this could be a very safe plan to come up.
Well, there's the sprays that are otherwise coming through there. Scythe has been forced into a slightly different situation as secretly tries to stick it. The C4 is going to be the cost there. Forces them up round, try to bait the firefight, but Saves wins it out. Secretly, however, gets dropped. Joystick still with the hold 20 seconds. The spray around the top of Spiral and the canister that pops off. They need to try and recollect the diffuser and go for an alternate plant, but as long as Joystick's in a bit of a power position here, he can cause so many problems. They're spraying over to keep him at bay as Nath is going to be the one that tries to stick it on the far side. Saves is holding the angle, but through the smoke, it's not the easiest to see. There it is. A post-plant situation, and Joystick dropped just after by Blur. Shepard is underneath. Gets one. Gets spotted. Gets pulled back. Slightly almost found the second. There a good take. Something to build behind. 5-3.
I was going to say, he seems to be very well aware of the fact that the players should be inside the towers. Just not able to get the shot quite down yet, and that allows Navi to breathe a little bit more. They're getting closer round by round. And now, they need to do it again. And again. And again. And Lobby Press will be coming up next. It's Empire. They have, of course, maybe enough for a single point, but I do want to make sure that they're locked in completely. After their SI performance, they are willing to show that they can do better. They want to be the second European team to qualify right behind BDS. Let that also be the two teams that came the furthest inside of the 6 Invitational. Of course, followed up by Makers, a team that has recently qualified for CL through the open qualifiers, but will still have to play in PG nets and could potentially gain a national qualification spot through that. Not sure, you know, it's just mainly the national title they will want to go for, considering they're already qualified. Is that rotation hold working? I think it is.
Dunno.
I'm not going to question it.
Okay. You want to, though?
I wanted to, because he looked to go through, and then he didn't quite go through. So,
yeah.
like, did it fit? But yeah, I'm not going to question it. Always is a professional.
Wow. I guess now they've been answering the questions of how can we try and apply some pressure and see if we can, I guess, build behind it. It was a very early take that they were able to get the first body off the board just before, and since then they were able to, I guess, try and restructure, build behind it. They removed what was a consistent bout of pressure from Dan, who has had a pretty good sort of hold here. He's always been in the right positions, and that's what this map is about. Allows the drive of Scyther always to sort of build behind it, and Joystick as well. Everybody has sort of been lighting up. And I think that's the problem that NaVi is suffering right now, is for what is a map where you're sometimes not really sure the next firefight is going to come from based on how a lot of it happens on Windows and externally. They haven't quite been able to dig in the same way that Empire across the board has, and it's made them come out a little bit lopsided. Natus doing the best to sort of keep driving the team forward, as obviously saves us, but sooner rather than later, I think they're hoping for a bit more of a scrappy 5-on-5.
Now, you could think that these might be a bit of a quick use of smoke canisters, but the longer he can hold on to this top floor, the easier, the better it will be for them to actually make sure that they have that projector under control. And as the third one has been popped in the meantime, and Standa, I believe, managed to drop down the hatch and live as a result. And that does give the opportunity to NaVi to now take control, to start setting up for an eventual push through that main door. Because that's what they're aiming at. You can literally see it in everything they currently have set up. Everything is forced towards that lobby.
Yeah, they're putting in this dangerous sort of angle here as they're trying to clear the same pocket of space we talked about Empire doing very well. NaVi, they've been able to drive those bodies out of the core, out of the middle, but Joystick isn't quite ready to give it up as of yet. Waiting for a little bit more of a pop round. They also have Always on the extension towards the top of yellow. They're going to rotate down for now, and it seems like in this final minute they're going to say, okay, well, they've still got to plant somewhere else, so let's try and have a little bit more of a flatter fight here. Almost caught by the spray through the window, but now they can be a little bit more concerned and aware as they actually go all the way underneath with those C4s all the way in pocket. They're going to try and stick the plant secretly, is trying to get it stuck in the secrecy of everything else.
Gets it!
There it is! Just found him at the last dying throws there of the swing round. Doki picks it up and tries to replace the mantle of being the plant here as they're still getting the lockdown from above. The cover comes through just in time. Doki can slip out of there, a 4 versus 2. Blur is buried, and now he's the only one left to bury. Empire, who are steadily making their way around, opened up his own hold above and is waiting for any audio cues to give the game away. There's the first fight, takes it. There's the giveaway. There's a man trying to stick it. There's the second. He's going to drive forward with a pistol, finds it, and down Shepard. No! The last body round on the back of Spiral is the one that secures Empire.
I was going to say, please go for the team kill, because otherwise he might be entering the team revive there. But you saw him crawl out of the way. There's no way that I'm going to go in, get in your way to make sure that you're not going to be able to get that defuse. And with that, it's Empire that now have secured themselves their first point. Realistically speaking, they should be going to the 6th major. But everything is still possible. There is still the opportunity that this single point that they just managed to confirm will not be enough. And that means that they will be fighting for 3 or 2 if it seems to be going the other way around. Suddenly, if NaVi do manage to bring it back to OT, there's always still that option. But 3 is more than enough. That's a point extra compared to what they need. And they're going to fight for it. And they're going to fight for it hard. They have 3 rounds to try and lock it out. This one might have been a little bit more close at the end when you lose 3 people trying to protect that diffuser, and really the one man that was coming up behind you had to save you. But there is going to be 3 more rounds, and that does mean we do have sites that get unlocked that have been won previously, which should make it a little bit easier for Empire to secure that one.
I was waiting for it to throw back in, but we go back in.
There we go.
It's Milos noises. We go back in.
Milos is looking very confused right now.
Oh, he's made a bear sound. Apparently that's a Milos noise.
Okay.
I'll ask Des about that later.
So for those of you that don't know, we're basically shipping them. What's the shipping name?
I don't know. We need to go to the fan art community. They're the ones that always dictate that, aren't they?
Miloš the Medic and Desertu.
Milochi.
No,
because that's...
It's really hard to combine.
Deslosh?
I think that gets the closest to a shipping name. If anybody knows better, tweet it out at us. Actually, tweet it out at them.
Yeah.
Let Des have absolutely not an idea about what's going on and let him be confused.
Let's ruin Des's Twitter experience. Okay, 6-3. Natus Vincere, you need to try and pull this back to OT because it's not just the danger of you're sort of competing with your direct rivals in the 2 final play days after you're able to sort of do away with G2. You dispatched them earlier on in the split. You have questions?
Yeah, no Thatcher again. I mean, they managed to get it open. It's just not much time left the last time around. They get zapped by an Evil Eye, so... I'm wondering if not bringing the Thatcher is going to be as helpful as it would have been to actually bring him, considering the struggles NaVi faced the last time they were attacking this bottom floor.
I think it's it as well, is they're sort of trying to play their game and their pace. They're trying to get the control that they want, but there's always that backline on this side. It's such a hefty site. If you get the diffuser down, it's such a hefty retake. It's uncomfortable. It's such a huge battle that happens just on the other side of those vehicles. And I guess, you know, what they're trying to do there is be aggressive in their clear, but Empire are very good at wasting time on the top 2 floors. I think that's why the Thatcher could have been good.
Oh, just the down.
Some time. There's the down on Doki there. Again, just wasting time, pulling themselves back. They haven't quite suffered from it. Joystick is still at the top of yellow. Blur is having to come in to get the revive here, and it's just all time in it.
It was just a throwaway Nitro as well. He's like, maybe someone's up here, let's just throw it out. He probably has not a single idea that Doki is down to 20 HP, but literally, he's going to have to use those Geminis now to run through the Surya laser gates, otherwise loses his own life. Dan actually like the position he's in currently. Inside the lobby, it's the soft hatch, has the opportunity, as Doki does take down Joystick whilst he's on low HP. So just simply punch the hatch and move back down towards the site, where he just did that. Exactly that. That means he's now on the sides. They are fighting at a man disadvantage. That is just the true facts that are going on right now. And it's NaVi that still have a minute left to prepare themselves. And they're setting up angles, they're trying to clear out to see if anybody would still be inside that bathroom. Of course, not the case, will be free to take. And now the Skeleton Key will be coming in to try and take care of that utility, to try and find the electric claw to make sure that the breach is allowed to go through. Now, I believe there's still another one left in pocket, so that will be tossed in right now, right underneath the hole. That might actually get the exothermic. Oh, just too late.
Just a little too late there. They were able to get the control that they had, and obviously in the situation, remember that they didn't have the buck around this time. They'd also lost Doki too, and they've been able to bring themselves in, but with 30 seconds, they're still quite low on time, and there's still obviously gadgetry in and around the entrance towards the attempt on the plant here itself. There is a bit of a hold, a bit of electricity, and a hot bit of danger as he just has to try and scream through it, being shot and zapped, but he's going to try and stick it to the best of his ability. The call came out, pulled him off the Evil Eye as the spray came around the corner, and it's a post plant, and I said it before, this is a very, very tricky retake, even worse when you're in a 5 versus 1 situation, always is going to get the lockdown and secured with the zaps. Gets a little bit of revenge for the attempt when he had the plant and the stick before, but the back stairs proved too much. 6-4.
I was wondering what the Doki was actually there for, because I haven't seen the calls coming into effective yet, and this is exactly why. As soon as that plan does go down and you are getting zapped by the Evil Eye from the Maestro, you just get that call in, and they're going to be tossed off the cam. They're going to have to turn off that phone and make sure that they're going to be able to get back on. But by the time that they do that, plant's already down. Clock's already ticking down, and NaVi now will be 2 points or 2 rounds away of making it over to an overtime, where they have the opportunity to secure themselves potentially 2 points. But Empire, well, they still have the opportunity to close it off, and there's of course a counter to what just happened with the Dokkaebi as well, and that would be to bring a mute and just lay prone inside of a mute gemmer.
That's it, they've baited it this time. The Thatcher was on the board before, they've gone to Dokkaebi instead from it. They're going to sort of say, well, we're going to play this game, and No, we've pulled off. We've gone with a slightly different approach here, a slightly different tact that actually we've been using pretty much the entirety of their time before. Obviously, this was where they had a bit of success before. Snuck themselves in, took a very good bout of control, and sort of ignored, obviously, the side of yellow and the push and the hold over there. Instead, did how Empire sort of set themselves up and went, well, let's take admin. Let's take Suicide Bauk underneath it as well, get that security there, and then we can just get the stick in.
Definitely so. And, you know, I just said, like, I'm not sure if they should have brought the Thatcher considering how slow the first round was, but I get the point. Now, of course, they were able to get control quite quickly. This time weren't really bullied by Joystick as much as they were in the first round, and that just gives you a lot more utility to work with, to clear it out with, and then you have that Dokkaebi available for you to shut down any chems that might be, or any utility that might be actively used upon you to shut you down. And now NaVi, 2 rounds away. 2 minutes 30 left on that board. 2 minutes 30 for them to either clear out the entire team or to plant that diffuser to make sure that yet again a retake will have to be on its way from Empire's side, who they themselves are opening up many holes for the verticality just to make sure that, well, you know, these plants are easily to be countered if they would have to drop down to the base, to the first floor.
Still a similar approach here from NaVi. They're going with the same holds, the same angles. They knew it was successful before, and they're making sure they have that same pocket of space. The concern of the C4, as you said, are still present underneath. Joystick is going for a bit of an adventure, and Shepard's eyeing the possibility of a run-out. I said they're a team that can do those plays when they want to, and they haven't really felt like they have to as of yet. They've been close to the danger, but they're well aware that it's to be expected, as it was just against Navi's game earlier by them instead. There's still Dan buried in, there's still Joystick underneath, there's drones just tucked in on the corner that get found and dropped in the burn. Yeah, a lot of utility.
So much being used to get Dan out of his current position, and still he lives for now, and the pressure is coming on from the actual Visa side. He's holding that. There's also cover, of course, inside of the connector. Then just needs to make sure he watches the right angle at the right time, because he's finding himself in a bit of a tough spot. Seems like both of them have fallen off for now, though. He's going to get a little bit of breathing space as the rest of NaVi is trying to collect themselves and put themselves all together. The spot now comes through. They should be well aware of his position, and Doki is going to retry to take the gunfight here.
But with the gate going back up, they burn it with a Gemini, and the swing from Nath is the one that drives them in a minute, and they've finally been able to dismantle the man at the huge cost of all of that utility. You think of the amount of drones, you think of everything that was thrown inside that tiny box, and Dan finally gives up the ghost. But with 40 seconds, we saw a bit of a creep and a crawl underneath that forced Always into a slightly different position. Joystick's gone even deeper. They had a bit of a crouched angle here, but not enough to stop Cypher, who's going with the C4 out over the top and dropped.
Diffuser!
There's the diffuser. There's 30 seconds. They quickly need to try and reconvene and get themselves re-solidified here. The quickest route is in and popped out. I know. It is ferocious.
Oh my God,
there
Joystick.
it is. 2 stories of devastation delivered at the end of a Russian gun. NaVi are able to bite themselves back just a little, but with the canisters buying some time. There's the call. There's the drop. Popped and locked by a shotgun that won't stop. Shepard brings Empire all the way around to the finish. They find themselves also enjoying the trip over to Mexico.
They are indeed. They are the second team tonight that will qualify for the 6th major in Mexico. They will join BDS. They're, you know, the team they managed to get just as far with during the 6th Invitational, and they can try it yet